Hey everyone, I'm here with an episode of The Witch's Bookshelf talking about my to be read list, what I'm reading right now, and what I want to read next. So if you're interested in books about witchcraft, tarot, astrology, any of those things, stick around. So I'm Lou, I'm the Rocker Witch. Thank you to those of you who are returning. Welcome to those of you who are new. I talk about tarot, astrology, witchcraft, also creativity, music, all that kind of stuff. So if you like that stuff, you're in the right place. Today, I'm going to be talking about some of the witchy books that I have on my to be read pile. Some of them I'm in the process of reading right now. Some of them I'm like, ooh, I want to read that next. I have a pretty big TBR pile. Like, let's face it, I wish I had more time for reading. I'm a busy person. I work full time. I have a couple teenagers. I make art. I play music. I have a lot of things going on. So I don't always have as much time to read as I would like, but I do love books and I have a lot of books. Actually, I should do a video where I sort through my books because I desperately need to do that. All right, so let's get started. I have a few books here on the list. So the first is one that I'm just finishing up, Witch in Darkness, and I'm going to do a review of that book. But after that, what I want to read is, I picked this book up a while ago. It's Magic at the Crossroads by Kate Fruler, The Devil in Modern Witchcraft. And so this is a Canadian author, go Canada. But it's about the history of like the devil in the craft, like all the way back to, you know, when sort of first in medieval times, this concept of like what we think of the devil now sort of appeared. And then it goes into things like present day and, you know, heavy metal, how, you know, like the whole talks a bit about that and in movies and all that kind of stuff. And so I thought it was interesting because I find this subject very interesting. Especially because like I grew up in the 80s, and so I remember the Satanic Panic. I remember being told that the music I listened to was from the devil, and I have a whole story about that. If you guys want to hear a story about me and the Satanic Panic, let me know. I can do a video about that. But I love this kind of stuff. I find it very fascinating, very interesting, and so the fact she wrote a whole book about this I think is really cool. And I saw this and I'm like, this is very much up my alley. So I think it's like kind of she talks about the concept of the devil both historically and then also concepts of the devil in witchcraft and how that's evolved over the years. She talks a little bit about things like Satanism, as far as like 20th century kind of Satanism as well, things like the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple, those organizations. Again, I could do a whole video about that if you want, because to know about those things. The sort of the accusations like the Salem witch trials and things, some of the symbolism associated with Satanism, and then also like modern witches that use maybe not the right word, but you know, work with the devil or the idea of the devil in their craft. So I think this is going to be a fascinating read. This is just, you know, what I've gathered from looking at this book, and let me know if you want me to do a review of this when I'm done reading it. The second book I picked up when I went to my local bookstore. I'm trying not to order too much from Amazon just because Jeff Bezos and all that stuff. But we do have a local bookstore that I love, McNally Robinson. It's amazing. And so I try to buy stuff from there. And I was just browsing and I picked this up. It looked interesting to me. It's called What We've Forgotten, an interdimensional adventure to remember the world, the wonder within, by Amy Miranda. Now, one criticism I have of this book is that I saw that there was an illustrator, but the illustrator used AI. I'm not a fan of AI. So the pictures are, you know, very lovely. It is a very image heavy book, very stylish looking, but I am not a fan of using AI. I think that I have a problem fundamentally with AI, especially in art and writing, because AI works by stealing from artists that have made stuff before. So it scrapes all that information and then it puts it together. It takes work away from actual artists, of course, but it also doesn't compensate the artist that it took the art from. And this is a problem. This is a big problem, right? So not too happy about that. And I found out about it after I bought the book. So I was kind of like, that's not great, right? It's a very stylish book. It's sort of hard to say what this book is about, but it's basically this person talks about this inner temple, and each room, you know, there's like a hall of mirrors and a library and a garden and stuff. And she talks about things like synchronicity and patterns in nature. So it's kind of about connecting back in with your spirit. I think this is a good book if you're like a beginner, I think, with spirituality, or like sort of more new age spirituality. She's also like, you know, just as a side note, the politics in this are, you know, very like quite left. You know, a little on the, you know, the kind of the more like woke speak side. So if you're not into that, you might not be into this book. You know, if you could put that aside, then that's fine. Or if you love it, then you'll love it. But just a heads up for those of you that might be turned off by that. And it's an interesting book. I am in the process of reading it. I think a lot of it's interesting because she talks a lot about synchronicity. It's very new age in some ways. Things like synchronicity and signs and all that kind of stuff. But I'm finding it enjoyable. And she talks a lot about her personal story as well, which I think is interesting. I think this is another Canadian as well. Maybe. She lives outside of Toronto, so another Canadian. So that's really awesome as well. But you know, the jury's out on this. I'm going to continue reading it. I think it's interesting, and you know, part of this is her life story, and of course, you know, we all have unique stories to tell. So this is an interesting book, and I'll let you know when I'm done it what I think about the whole thing. But that's kind of like a little preview. Where am I? Where am I? I think I'm up to chapter, like these are all like, they're very beautiful and stuff. It just bothers me that like AI. Chapter 6. Yeah, it does sort of romanticize things too. It has sort of like you know, like an overly romanticized view of things, of like the past and stuff. But anyway, good and bad with this. But it is an interesting book. It's an interesting concept. It is different than what I've read before. The other thing I picked up is I was curious about this book because I have an older version of this book, I think from the 90s, maybe the earlier 2000s. It's a dummy's guide to Wicca and witchcraft. And now this is the modern witchcraft for dummies, which is new. So I'm interested in comparing these because I often find like modern witchcraft or like traditional witchcraft really disparages Wicca and tries to separate itself, but a lot of it is quite similar. Not all of it, but I'm like, it's weird that they disparage a thing that they're based on some of the time, or based on similar things. So I'm interested and curious to read this and to see what the differences are. I'm interested, you know, in this, you know, just to see what it says, because this is kind of like, I think maybe a more updated version from what the other thing I have, but I will compare this. I'll let you know what I think. I've only just received this, so I don't know what to think of it yet, but I'm interested in comparing the two. I do actually really like dummies books and Idiot's Guide to Whatever. I think they're a great place to begin for beginners. I think they're often underestimated in the information that they have. And I do like the format often that they're in. So I'm going to be looking at this. And also I thought it might be good inspiration, some of these topics for different videos. So I'm going to be reading this as well. The next book I have is one that I'm using in, I'm doing a Tarot for Beginners series on my Patreon. And I've read the tarot for like, it's been 30 years. I bought my first tarot deck when I was 20, and I'm 50 now. So it's been 30 years, which is crazy to believe. So even after 30 years, I do not think of myself as an expert. I feel like I'm still learning, and I picked up the Ultimate Guide to Tarot. First of all, I love the cover, pardon me. Like, it's just, I think it's really cool. It looks delicious to me. And I think it's broken down really, really well. Like, they've got the, you know, sort of key stuff here with each of the major arcana. They talk about the imagery on it. They talk about its connection with astrology and the Kabbalah, upright meanings, reverse meanings. They talk about symbols, like repeating symbols in the tarot. They also have like different spreads and things based on each of the major arcana. And then the minors have a good chunk of information too. So again, you've got your beautiful bright thumbnail here, information, upright and reverse meanings. They talk about the card, they talk about the symbols. It's a really great guide. I think I would highly recommend this to beginners who are looking to read the tarot. But I'm kind of reading through this as kind of like, I always feel like there's always more to learn. You never know what things someone else is going to, inspire in you and stuff. And so as I'm teaching this, I'm also reading this book. And I think it's been like really, really helpful. And I would highly recommend it to those who are beginning or those who just want to kind of learn a little more about the tarot. And it talks about the history. Actually, there's this really cool section in each of the major arcanas where it talks about the historical version. So it talks about like where that image in the major arcana comes from and maybe what variations have existed in the past. I like learning the history of things because I'm a bit of a history nerd, so I do really like that. So those are the books that I'm currently reading or like just about to read. They're on my TBR list. I do have more. There's actually a little pile over here. If you could see the little piles of books around this room. Yeah, it's I have a bit of a problem when it comes to books, that's for sure. I'm a bibliophile, I think they call it, where you just love books. Anyway, that's what's on my list. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what your thoughts are about these books. Are any of these on your list to be read? Would you like me to do like reviews of any of these books? Let me know what your thoughts are. Again, always, I have to say at the end of these videos, thank you to my patrons. Thank you so much for being there. If you're interested and you want to check out my Patreon, of course, you totally can. We're doing tarot for beginners, as I said. I also do weekly astrology and tarot scopes. And I do monthly private readings. And if you want a reading, you can check out my Etsy as well. But thank you, as always, to all of you for just being here and watching this and all of your comments and just being lovely. You guys are the best. And as always, peace and love.